Good evening, you handsome lot. And on the ramp today, I've got a 2019 Jaguar E-Pace. It is an R-Dynamic HSE, which is a bit of a top spec-a-rooney. Now, it has done 59,000 miles, and this customer has brought his vehicle to us for the timing chain replacement. Now, it is not rattling. He just wants it done as a little bit of a prevention. Right, let's get down to business. Because we need to remove the subframe on this vehicle, we need to remove the pinch bolt out of the steering column and just put the seatbelt through the steering wheel, just in case, well, to stop that steering wheel moving and snapping the clock spring, because that's the last thing you want to do. Vehicle is now half raised. Remove both front wheels and both the front half of the splash guards because we need access to these bolts here, and it is a lot easier to remove the subframe. Do not even try to undo that because it is sea solid. There's a right faff, and do exactly the same to the other side as well. You need to go ahead, remove the tracker ends and the anti-roll bar links as well. Look at the state of me, I'm absolutely minging, and all this is because of the subframe bolts. They get full of water, and as you undo them with a gun, it just sprays everywhere. But anyway, we've now got that subframe off. There's various connectors that just go up the side of the gearbox. If you haven't done these already, and there's also that goes on. I was thinking that goes onto the AdBlue injector up here. And then there is another knock sensor that you have to just unplug from underneath there. That is a stupid idea. That is, especially mounting it. They could put it like anywhere up there out of the way, but no. Let's tuck it underneath all this trim here, this heat shield. Right, I'm going to get this now off these jacks, and then we can plod on. Now with that subframe off, look at all that room that we've got. We're going to be leaving the transfer box on, leave this dry shaft in, the driver's side dry shaft, remove the passenger side, and we're just going to swing it out of the way and secure it with some ties. But I think we need to drop the vehicle down now. Oh, hang on. There is a little 8mm that you've got to take off and then take pipe up there before you drop it down, because it is a little bit of a fiddle from up above. We're going to drop the vehicle down now and get the engine support on it. Before we go ahead and put the engine support on, what we're going to do is make as enough room as possible. Airbox, intake out of the way, battery box, and a lot of ancillaries from down the side of the engine here. And also, because we've got to put the engine support here, you've got to take the bonnet struts off. Now, what I've done to save it flapping back and two, put a little ratchet strap from the mirror, and that will stop it from flopping down. Last thing we want to do is damage this bonnet. But yeah, let's make a little bit of room underneath here. Right, well, it might not look as if we're making a dent, but we are making a little bit of a dent in a big mountain sort of thing. We've undone the coolant pipes, taken the EGR valve off the side of the engine, and we've put them all at the side here. Now, whenever you take a component off, make sure that you put the bolts back in the same holes, and you're not faffing about at a later date trying to rummage through bolts that you've put in a magnetic tray. But I have also, because when at the beginning of the video, the battery was saying that it was low and one thing and another, but we have put it on charge on the GYS for now and see what it's like after it's been charged. So I'm going to give it a bit of a test-a-rooney. But right, we've got plenty more stuff to take off. We've got the charge cooler down the front there and lots of other little bits and bobs. Vehicle is now, look at that sun, it's bloody beautiful and bright. Makes you feel good having the sun up. Look at the colour of me. I'm never this dirty, never this dirty. But anyway, charge cooler is now off. I've removed the starter motor. I'm just going to drain the gearbox oil because this customer has requested gearbox oil change as well. So we're going to be doing that at the same time. But yeah, and then we can get that engine brace on. Tell you what, these jobs are not so time consuming and that much, like, look how much stuff you've got to take off, and I'm nowhere near the job that I need to do. Stupid. Anyway, can't moan, it's just nuts and bolts. Everything now is out of the way. I've taken the engine mount off, gearbox mount off. We put the engine support on, made sure that we've put some rags and gloves and underneath it to save scratching stuff. And I've undone the top 3 bellows and bolts, and we just put them there on the scuttle panel, and we can take the car up now and get the gearbox out. As you can see, I've gone ahead and removed the gearbox. Now, I have done a video on how to remove a gearbox on one of these. It was in a Discovery Sport, exactly the same. But remember at the beginning of the video where the customer had brought the vehicle in as a prevention? Well, I've taken the top timing cover off. Have a little look-a-rooney at this. Tensioner is right the way out. Look at that. Can't get over that. It wasn't even rattling or anything. It sounded perfect, this engine did. Right, well, I'm not going to lie. I have just got absolutely drenched. There's a coolant pipe that comes over the top of the gearbox, and it must have had half a litre of bloody water in it. And it's gone all down my neck, down my back, my t-shirt, my coat soaking. But anyway, timing cover. I removed the flex plate. Now it is on a dowel, but I do like to just mark it. Everything's reference. We like reference, don't we? If you put your own marks on and it goes back the same way it came off, it can't be wrong, can it? Now I've undone all the timing cover bolts, and I've put them in a little bit of a cardboard box, and you know exactly which way the bolts are going to go back in. We can go ahead now and get a little pry bar and hopefully get that cover off. Right, well, we have now got that timing cover off. Now I've given everything a little bit of a clean. Now the chain doesn't look too bad, although the tensioner is quite a way out. If we have a little look up there, that tensioner, look at that. Anyway, we have got all the bits and they have turned up. A massive box of bits. Got new bolts for the flex plate, for the torque converter. All the studs, they are all Brit part, all genuine bits. Tensioners, crank seals, pulleys, you name it, we have got it. Right, let's get this engine timed up. Right, now the timing tool that we're going to be using for this is a laser timing tool, and is specific for this engine, and it is made in Sheffield in the UK. Don't get this mixed up with your eBay stuff, because it is not a cheap tool. Luckily enough, Jamie from Laser Tools has swung by, and he's dropped save the day as always. Right, so we go ahead and get this engine timed up. First thing that we need to do is lock the crank. Now on these there is a little arrow. Now I have marked it up green just to make it a little bit more visible for you, and that needs to go in the crankshaft pulley. And then we've got two little pins, well, not, they are quite big pins, that go in either side and get that tightened up. Right, now the crankshaft is locked up. Now we do need to move around to the camshaft. Now you won't believe what I've had to do to get that tool in. I've had to slack the tensioner right off and pull the pulleys with separate ratchets and sockets, and just to slide it in. Look at that. This car must have been rattling on startup. Must have been. Look at the tensioner, see how far it's out. Crazy. Now with them camshafts locked up, we need to go ahead and fit this holding tool. Now this tool is for when you're slackening the sprockets off. And it just slides over a little bit like that. We might have to just fiddle with this one a little bit so it slides in. And then we can take the vehicle up and get this chain off. Right, well, I've had to go ahead and get on with this job, so I've removed all the old chains and all the sprockets and all the nuts and bolts and tensioners and whatever. And there we have it. Everything now is nicely replaced, and everything that I've removed has been torqued to spec, and I've also put a little bit of green paint on it so I know that everything is tight. Now it is hard for me to show you where all the timing marks are on it because it's just so dark and everything. It's like camouflaged, but everything is lined up correctly. There's little, can I show you on the old chain? See, there is different colour lengths, and they've got to match up with all the marks on all the pulleys and guides. Right, well, I think we can go ahead now and pull the pin out the tensioner. As you can see now, look how far that tensioner is out compared to when it first came in. And I've got to do the, well, everything's set. I can remove these tools now. The camshaft pulley. And make sure, I'm going to spin the crank. Make sure that everything's aligning back up. The links on the timing chain, they will never line up again. Well, I could be here forever trying to turn them over. So we're just going to put our own reference marks where everything aligns up. Now, to try and get all this back together. Now the timing cover, the lower timing cover, make sure that it is absolutely spotless. Absolutely spotless. And also, where the timing cover mounts onto the engine, pop some sealant. Now I have done it exactly as the information tells me to. And this is what the manufacturers use. And also this multi-layer gasket, head gasket, right? I don't know if you can see it. Just pull it down. And see that stuff that I've put in there? That is a mating compound. And I'm using a little bit of L-ring, T2. If you don't do that, it could leak. And that's the last thing you want to do is, well, have any leaks. Right, so let's give this sealant now about 5-10 minutes to get a little bit of a skin on it. We can get the timing cover on. One lower timing cover now on, and everything, like I said before, is going to be chalked up to manufacturer spec. Now the upper timing cover, we have got a brand new gasket. We can just slot that on. Probably can't do it with one hand. No, can't do it with one hand. But anyway, we're going to get that new gasket on. Can we? No, I have to use two hands. Everything on the side of the engine now is back together. Let's move around and put the flex plate back on. Now we have got brand new bolts. Let's get it fitted. Well, we are making progress on putting this vehicle back together. Gearbox is now back in and it is bolted up to the chassis. Now we're going to go ahead and fit all the jar cooler intake system. Now we are putting all new, brand new gaskets throughout, so we know there's nothing's going to leak. I've enjoyed doing this, and I haven't enjoyed doing it. It's just such a lengthy bloody job. But again, my favourite quote, it's just nuts and bolts. Nuts and bolts, and lots of fiddliness. Subframe is on. Pretty much everything at the top end now is built back together. I put it into a position where I can wind it over, build the oil pressure up. Now I have disconnected the fuel rail, the injectors, so it's not going to start. We're just going to wind it over and let the oil pressure build up. Right, well everything now is connected up, the injectors. We're going to go for its first fire and see what happens. It's got two choices, isn't it? It either starts or it doesn't. Ooh, I hope it does. Ignition on. See what happens. Well, it started and it's running. Right, now with that car all ticking over lovely and sounding like a little Singer sewing machine, I've got lots of stuff to put back on, all the little plastic trims, inner wheel arches, splash guards, calipers, tracker ends and stuff like that. I'm going to just plod on. Right, well with this car now ticking over lovely and sounding perfect, all the covers are on, the wheel arches are on, the wheels on the other side. It is also having a gearbox service as well. Now, with it getting up to temperature, you've got to hold it into gear for so long, go through all the motions. Now I have put fresh oil in it. I'm just waiting for it to get up to 40 odd degrees, and then we can crack the fill level open. And if any pours out, we've got to leave it until a steady flow comes out. And if nothing comes out, we've got to top it up until it does. It's going to take another 5-10 minutes or so. But we're getting there. Now this job has taken a lot longer than expected, but it's one of them. It's one of them. And there we have. That car now is all back together, as you can see. I've cleaned all the plastics. A little bit of presentation. I'm going to get in the car now. Well, torque the wheel nuts up, take it down the road for a little bit of a test drive. And there we go. On the road for a good half an hour, 40 minutes in it, and the car drives beautifully. I'm going to leave it stand for about half an hour or so, let all the levels so I can give them a little bit of a check. Now, obviously, over the next couple of days when the customer has it back, they're going to have to check the water level because it might just go down a little bit. Right, so I'm going to have a little bit of a tidy up now and put all my tools away. The only thing about doing these big jobs, there are lots of bloody tools and stuff like that to put away. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. It's not as more in detail as I would like it to have been, but never mind, it's been one of them. But if you've stayed this far and you've enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and we will definitely see you on the next one. Now, I know this week has been a bit quiet on the content, but I have been really busy, and that Jag has just taken a little bit longer than I'd expected. But anyway, it's done. Have a mint weekend, everybody. Let's get it soon.